Good morning. Hello, everyone. Freedom Legacy members. And we have another fantastic interview today with the lovely Julie Gordon. And if our conversation can help anybody break free from their emotional and mental challenges, then I'm sure Julie is an expert who's going to help you. But what we've got for you today is a discussion on mind health, okay, not mental health, mind health, important distinction there. And Julie is an expert in mindfulness and has worked with lots of people. But I won't steal her thunder. Let Julie sort of tell us a little bit about what she does, and then we'll just dive in. Julie, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Freedom Legacy group, and please just give us a little bit of an insight of what you do, how you do it, and we'll take it from there. Over to you.
Hello, yeah, thank you so much. It's lovely to be talking with you. Yes, I'm all about the mind health. It's really important that we look after our mind health. It looks after us. It tries so hard to look after us. So, you know, we need to look after it as well. So it all began many moons ago. I seem to be the go-to person all the time, ever since I could remember. Even when, you know, going back to teenage before that, I was always the go-to person to people would come and ask me, you know, different questions, and I'd be telling them I never thought anything of it at all, didn't think anything of it. And then it wasn't until I had my two boys, so I had Ethan first, and I just noticed that he sort of suffered with low self-esteem at a very early age. And even though the mindfulness is the way I think, so I'm very lucky. But I just thought maybe I need some more help to help him. So I started doing courses in mindfulness and in using those, and then when my second son came along, his challenges were different because he was racing, so he was very up and down all the time.
So that's go-kart racing, isn't it?
Yeah, the racing, because he was so winning, you know, you're up here, everything's great. And then when someone like catches your car and bashes you off, then you're right down there. And I could just see that he was going from up here to down here, where we really need to keep on an even keel, instead of going, you know, keeping the highs and the lows all the time. So I started to use the mindfulness, so getting in a routine, because he used to be really ill. He was really poorly before every race, and then as the more championships he did, he got worse. You know, he was very poorly even in between the races as well. So we were using this all the time, and the great thing was that after some years, but they would then use what I'd said to them, so they would be quoting me. So it was amazing. So I thought, so you think, they are listening, they are taking notice, you know, it is going in really. They're pretending that they're not, but they are really. And looking at Ethan and Aaron, I just thought it would be heartbreaking to think that they were unable or didn't have anyone to talk to. And I just thought, I can't let that happen. We've got to encourage and make it talking about mind health like we do injuries and toothache, where you get all the gory details, and just like that, because it's so important that we do say how we're feeling, and because our thoughts affect how we feel and then how we behave. So it's really important that we do talk about things and get things out in the open. And if you come up against resistance, if you come up against people saying, oh, what are you saying that for? Or I don't want to hear it, or just being negative about it, that's them, not you. They just haven't sort of come into the world of talking, because you find resolution with talking. And you can see when you just have a conversation with somebody, their face changes and the weight just lifts, the pressure lifts. So just doing just that, just having somebody to talk to is key to our mind health. And then the mindfulness part that we can incorporate, it just adds to it. It just makes it more beneficial, because there's 3 parts to mindfulness. So there's living in the moment, because when was the last time that you were having a drink, and then you're busy having a drink, and you go to pick up your cup, and then you think, well, there's none left. Well, I didn't realise I finished it. So, and it's because we're not actually enjoying what we're doing in that moment. We're not actually tasting the drink. When we eat, do we look at the colours? Do we look at what we're actually tasting, and using all our senses at the same time? Because more often than not, we're on autopilot. So the second sort of element with the mindfulness is no judgment. So everyone's unique, everyone's an individual, and that's how just because someone doesn't dress the same as you, or doesn't say the same as you, doesn't make them any less of a person than you, or anyone else. It's just being, allowing and accepting everyone for who they are, for what they do. And people can choose, you can choose who you want in your world. So the third thing is the looking after ourselves. We, as humans, we are really bad at looking after ourselves. We look after everybody else, and we don't take care of ourselves. And if we don't fill up our tank, we can't take care of other people. We're not going to be in a position. It's so easy to get overwhelmed and feel exhausted. There's so much burnout at the moment. So we do need to look after ourselves. And I remember my first coach said to me, you need to look after yourself. And I was thinking, well, when have I got time to do that? I know that I need to do it, but I haven't got time to do that. Then I started making time for what I really enjoy. I love going to the beach, going for a walk. Just the simple things that make you happy. It's so important that you take care of yourself, even if it's just having a little bit of just silence for a little bit, just somewhere where you can read, and there's just nothing, no distractions, nothing going on, just a little bit of quiet. It's just so important to be able to relax and calm the mind, because what happens is it's like having a reboot. Like with the computer, the computer just shuts off, and then what happens is that it's in total silence, for like a minute. There's nothing happening. It's just total silence. And then what we do is that we think, oh, here we go. We've got to wait a minute. So we wait a minute and then we turn it back on again. And then it's working. And it's, we need to do that with our mind. We need to just give it a break every now and again and just have silence, just to recalibrate, because we're doing the same thing as the computers, where we're downloading things all the time, we're gathering information, we're storing information, so just like the computer. So before we get to that stage of burnout, you know, there's lots of things that we can do to actually help ourselves to keep on an even kill. So reducing stress is a huge, actually dealing with stress is the key part to that. And yeah, we are, you know, as humans, we are, there's a lot of guilt around it as well, looking after ourselves. It's like, oh, you know, I haven't got time, I can't do that. And, you know, as parents, or if you're looking after, you know, anyone, there's a lot of guilt around, you know, I can't do that, I haven't got time for that, and not allowing ourselves to be able to just have that little bit of time for us to feel you know, happy. And it's important that you do feel happy, you know, because that has a ripple effect on everybody else.
Absolutely, the ripple effect is powerful. And what I find interesting is, you know, you keep talking about mind health, and in a previous conversation, we, you know, that really hit home that I believe there's a difference between what we call mind health and mental health. And when you said mind health, you know, I have a phrase that I learned from a mentor, mind is life, you know, and what you said there was, you know, we've got to cultivate and nurture the mind, because that's the source of everything. And, you know, but when we use the word mental health, I think, well, for me personally, that has a different connotation. That, yeah. You know, and so can you just explain a little bit how you would distinguish between the two, you know, mental health and mind health?
To me, I think, well, for me, I've always gone for the mind health, saying the mind health, because I do feel that there's a stigma around mental health. And I think when people are introduced and they're, you know, they're being advised, or you go to the mental health, you know, we've got departments, and I feel that the person then, it makes them feel that actually, can I get through this? The stigma that's attached to, because we also use it, you know, you people use it in a horrible way, and it's just a negative way that I think, you know, for somebody that is trying to overcome challenges, for them to hear a mental health just sets them back, and it just sets them up thinking that they actually can't move forward with it, they can't actually do anything about it, where you absolutely can. Doesn't matter where you are. You know, there's people that have, you know, they've been there just hasn't been anywhere to go, but you can, you know, you can turn it around with guidance, with help. You can turn it around. So, and I think probably with my mum, she had Alzheimer's, sadly, and and it was all about mental health this, mental health that, and I just thought, how is that making her feel? It was making me feel terrible, hearing it. And I remember saying once, oh, do you mean mind health? And of course it's not used. It's not. I think it's actually more so now. I think it is sort of, you are hearing it a little bit more, but that's where it's sort of come from for me.
Yeah. I personally, I think for me the association with mental health is that something is broken. Something needs fixing.
Exactly.
And as somebody, I spoke to somebody the other day on an interview in this group, and he said, there are no weaknesses, we just have gaps in our strengths. And that was a lovely way to reframe it, because it was almost like there's this label that actually there's something really, really wrong with you.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, at the core of us, we are whole and complete and perfect. But the way to look at it for me now is that actually there's some areas in the garden that need to be tended to, and instead of trying to go, oh, this is good and that's bad, or this is strong and that's weak, or this whole notion that because we've been labeled with a mental health issue, we are fundamentally broken, we're not whole, we're not complete, we have to go and fix something. Whereas the mind health is more, to me, about a nurturing and a cultivation and a process. So it was lovely to hear that distinction, and I've since speaking to you, and it's really got me thinking about how we actually use these terms, because language is very powerful. And so some people might associate mental health slightly differently, but I think in general terms, it has got quite a stigma, a label, a connotation, because of the way it's portrayed through different channels, media, etc. But Julie, quickly, I think what is unique and what really attracted me to connect with you and speak to you was, your focus is really to help men. And, I don't think there are a lot of women out there who kind of want to focus their skills in helping men to talk. And I think that's quite, you kind of, women tend to kind of want to be helping women, and men kind of, oh, I'll help men. And you get, the number of women focusing on men is, well, in my experience, is not that common. So what is it that, I know you've got 2 boys, and is that what kind of led you down the track of actually, if we can get men talking? Because I think it's something really, really important to discuss.
Yeah, absolutely. So important. There's lots of, men experience pressure and talking about, getting the feelings out, and it may, people watching might think, oh no, it's not for me. But once you take that step, it's that initial step to start talking about it, and you do come up against people that don't want to listen, and that is, so what we've encouraged is men to talk. And it is, my inspiration has come from having my 2 sons and seeing them being able to talk about anything at home, and I just thought, we need to do this, we need to share this. And my oldest son, actually, Ethan, is really good at getting men talking as well. So and that's with us talking about everything. It is not, honestly, it's not easy. It wasn't easy sugarcoating this at all. It is very hard for men to actually say how they're feeling and how it's affecting them. But it's really important. You do find you can find resolution if there is something that's causing you pressure, causing you stress. If you just generally talking, you get to a point where it can come out sort of naturally. And if you're talking to somebody that could give you that guidance and to give you, because what was happening is that I realized that what I could do was I see things from different angles. So I can give different options for people to be thinking, oh, actually, yes, that's definitely something that I can work with, because we're not all the same. We're all unique and all individual. And some people might find some things more comfortable than others. So it's so my inspiration has definitely come from Ethan and Aaron, and they've been they've been saying, Mum, this is really good, and they're behind it as well. They help. They do help a lot.
It becomes almost like one of your superpowers, because your ability to communicate affects the relationships that you're going to have. But your communication is used all the time, whether it's in the workplace or in a partnership or with your own children. And the inability to communicate effectively and to communicate from the heart is a real hindrance, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I grew up in that thing when you don't express your emotions, and it was just not just me, but it was kind of in the house. Everything was just kind of the pressure cooker thing, and everything was just pushed down, out of sight, pushed down, and it's so unhealthy for your body. It's unhealthy for your mind, and it's unhealthy for other people, as you were saying. At the beginning, we've got to communicate, because it affects relationships. It affects everybody around us.
I apologise.
The ripple effect.
Cat has now decided to get in on the scene.
Have a cuddle. Yeah.
With the communication, communication is absolutely key, because when you're communicating with someone, you're removing the prediction, because this is what we tend to do as humans. We will predict what someone's going to say or do. We assume what they're going to say or do, and we don't actually have the conversation, because it can be awkward. It can be uncomfortable. But there's actually a little trick that's quite a fun thing to do with actually all the family, that when you are coming up with or having to do like a difficult conversation meeting, is to put yourself in a situation which makes you feel uncomfortable and awkward, but in a safe environment. And a really good thing to do is actually, when you're going to brush your teeth, use the opposite hand, because it's safe. Do it with the family, do it with your household. It's fun. And it's gradually sort of retraining your brain to think, actually, this is really awkward and awful, go back to the way that we know. But then after a while, after training it, it's your brain is saying, oh, okay, all right, well, that wasn't very pleasant, but we got through it. It was okay. And then it then starts to help you in those situations. So I shared a story with you that happened to me many, many years ago, that we can control our thoughts. And I was scuba diving, and I had all the apparatus on, and I got into, so we could practice. So we got into the water, and So I put my head underneath to see all the colours. It was stunning. And then I was thinking, you've got to breathe. You've got to take a breath. Breathe. So I had to come back up out of the water. I was thinking, I'm breathing outside the water, put my head underneath, looking at everything, still not breathing properly, put my head up on the water. I was like, I've got everything I need to breathe. You can do it. You're fine. Put my head under the water. So I had to really take control of my brain. I'm like, look, you see, I can take a deep breath in, take a deep breath out. Then after a while, the brain's like, oh, okay, she can do it. She can breathe underwater. It's fine. Nothing's happened. Let her crack on. And that's, and it's just to show that we can control our thoughts. It's really, it's really important that we do that. To get rid of all the negativity, and to take control.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a interesting story, because it's, you talked about assumptions and predictions and perceptions, and we're having the conversations in our mind based on what we think or predicting other people are going to say and what they're thinking. And it just reminds me of that quote, you've got no business trying to think what somebody else is thinking. The ability to control our thoughts is within all of our grasp, isn't it? But it's a process, it's a practice, it's a skill, it's an art, and it doesn't happen overnight, and it's a step-by-step process. And I think always the first step is a recognition that I don't have to keep doing the same thing or thinking the same thing. I can actually choose, and therein lies the first step. But Julie, we're kind of out of time, but if somebody wants to get in touch, what's the best way for them to get in touch? Do you have a website? How can you get in communicate with somebody?
Yeah, you can contact me on LinkedIn. I'm on all the platforms for the, because people, even sort of children, young adults, if you've got them within the household, encourage them to, I'm on, I've got the Facebook page, there's Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn, and come and connect. Let me know, and let me know what you do. Have you got a daily routine, or are you, would you like to get a routine in place? Come and connect. It would be great.
Awesome. We'll put some of those links in the comments when we share the video. But Julie, thank you so much for that. So many golden little nuggets in there. And if you are recognizing that you need to change your ability to communicate, or you want to improve your ability to communicate, to think better, think more powerfully for yourself, then get in touch with Julie. Julie, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate your insights and your expertise. We'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Pleasure, Julie. Cheers. Right, folks, that's all for this week, and we'll catch up with you with another interview in the next episode. Take care. Have a good weekend.